A father in Africa runs with anything that can hold water to a crowd of people, all of which are after the same thing, water truck. He missed his chance this time, which means another day of no water. This is climate change. Sounds like a problem, right? Here's another story. I turn on the faucet, and water comes out. I turn on the shower, and water comes out. 10 p.m., yep, there go the sprinklers, right on time. This is climate change? Sounds like a problem, right? We aren't having our livelihoods put at risk. We aren't having to run to the water truck every morning to get a few buckets of water that's supposed to last all day. We aren't experiencing climate change. So what's the problem? And that is the problem. We aren't experiencing climate change. Today, around the world, thousands of people are dying from not only lack of water, but 120-degree heat waves. Ew. In India, they're experiencing a drought so bad that it decimated large, 80% of their crop yield. Now, what do you do when there is literally no food in large portions of your country? Starve? Slowly die of hunger and dehydration? What if the lack of any artificial cooling makes half your family get heat exhaustion? And without water or emergency services, what do? What about us? When we are hungry, we go to the pantry to get something to eat, or we go out to get a quick bite to eat. We don't have to live in fear of potentially not having food. We don't have to live in fear of potentially not having food. Nobody wants to have to answer these questions, but the sad fact is sometimes people do have to answer them. And some of those people might as well be right here next door. In particular areas of northern and central California, some people had to have water brought to them in bottles because due to lack of enough water, their water sources were becoming stagnant and too dangerous to use for water. In Central California, some farmers no longer get water from the state, or if they do, it's far too expensive to use due to drought restrictions that were put in place. Now, on a side note, yes, we did have an extremely wet winter, and yes, that had a massive positive impact on our drought. But on the flip side, yes, that weather did do a lot of damage, and yes, we still have all year to go, including summer, with what we've got. But back to the farmers. What do? California farmers produce more food per acre than any other state that produces food combined. That means they're vital to the nation's and the world's economy. So they began pumping water from underground. Unfortunately, at the time, this wasn't very regulated, and so they were free to pump as much as they want. Since 1920, farmers have drained 41 trillion gallons of water from underground reservoirs. That's enough to give every person on the planet enough water to last them 30 years. The worst part about all that is that these reservoirs take hundreds, if not thousands of years to refill. So basically, once they're gone, they're gone. That makes it sound like a problem we can deal with in the future, right? Not right. California has already had to spend billions of dollars to repair damage caused by the ground above the aquifers sinking by up to 30 feet in some areas. Not only does this affect the farmers in the Central Valley, but this can compromise huge lengths of aqueduct that we, along with many other areas of the state, rely on to get water. The alarming thing about this is that the same situation has happened and is happening around the world. Saudi Arabia let wealthy farmers pump water from underground completely unchecked for more than 30 years. Saudi Arabia became the 6th largest exporter of wheat. Now, they no longer export wheat and have to have food or drink desalinated water. What happens now? Food is imported from China, but China can barely sustain itself. So what then? They come to the US. One sneaky tactic countries can use to effectively take water from other countries is to set up farms and factories in another country, use their water to make the products, and then ship it back to the sneaky country. That means that our water is being used to feed their people, which is an all-around net loss for us. This is only a problem because in times like these and in the future, having water will take precedence over money. Going further with how to prevent this would lead to politics, though, so we're going to steer clear of that. Once again, how does this affect us? Well, the funny thing is that we're still getting about the same amount of water. In fact, and this is a good one to shock people with, think to yourself, how much has the average amount of rainfall per year in California dropped? 20 inches? 10 inches? 5? It has dropped by 0.1 inches. That means we're still getting the same amount of water. So what changed? We did. We are the problem with our water crisis. Due to population and agricultural growth, our water use has gone up, while the amount falling has stayed the same. On average. It has stayed the same on average. Yeah, there will be particular periods of wet weather, and there will be periods of particularly dry weather. And that's why you always hear of averages being used, because you can see a clear trend line that forms that ignores any oddly wet or dry years. Now, we have been saving water. Since June of 2015, we've saved enough water to supply a third of the state's population with enough water for a year. Not too bad, but we're going to have to do more if this is going to be sustainable. One good rule of thumb to start with is don't have grass. Go for rocks instead. Much cheaper, easier to maintain, and won't die in summer. If you're looking to reduce your carbon footprint, try go solar. Saves you money and makes energy for other people. But what's a more tangible way to literally see the improvement? Improve your driving habits. Carpool, cruise control, don't floor it, and smog checks. All of these simple things are easy ways to help your efficiency while driving, which also saves you money. Anyone notice the interesting trend yet? It's almost like the better you are for the environment, the more money you save. Another technique is take shorter showers, because just like our friends in Northern California who never thought it could happen, water might not come out one day. Another area of our lives that does use a particularly large amount of water and generates a lot of harmful emissions is agriculture, and yes, that includes meat. 1 gallon of coffee takes over 1,000 gallons of water to make. 1 pound of beef takes almost 2,000 gallons of water to make. The winner in all that is, of all things, almonds. Almonds take almost exactly 2,000 gallons of water per pound to make. But how can this be helped? I'm not asking you to eat an all broccoli diet, which takes 34 gallons per pound. But be conscious when eating meat, because overall a plant-based diet will use much less water than one heavy meat. Another thing, cut down on processed foods because they take more water and more energy to make and are generally less healthy. One person cannot impact climate change. I'll just start with that right now. But if the next time you turn on the faucet, or next time you take a shower, be aware of what's at stake. Because if we don't start acting now to help our situation, we will all be seeing each other in the water line. Thank you.